take a step back before I get all up in your
remember, because I don't remember. I remember every bit of this.
The other dudes holding on the phone line. Your voice will be heard, sir.
Next caller, please.
Jerry's gonna get him.
Fantasy, sports, and politics. Fantasy, sports, and politics. Fantasy, sports, and politics. Fantasy, sports, and politics.
Listeners are asking questions about this week's games, not Jerry's personal beef. So what's your thought?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Fantasy Sports and Politics. It's me, Mr. FSP, doing what I do because I do it for you all day, every day. And it's got to tell you, it's a great day, even though my Commanders lost on Thursday. Very heartbroken. I had picked them to lose to Green Bay, but not the way they lost to Green Bay. I'm going to be very honest with you. The Brian Robinson trade to San Francisco for a 6th-round pick is coming to bite them back in the booty. It really is. Now, do I think Washington is in a bad situation? No. They have a young kid that they decided to keep over Robinson, which I actually think they could have kept both and kept Rodriguez or Nicholson on the practice squad. Now, Washington's backfield is a rookie. We call him Bill. Chris Rodriguez, who I think probably should be the starter, but it's probably going to be Bill. And then Nicholson, a situational third down back. Now, to me, Washington does not have a goal line short yardage back. And that's by design because of Cliff Kingsbury's system, which is a mistake in my opinion. While he was in Arizona, I'm wearing a Cardinals jersey from back several years back. He had James Conner. James Conner was a receiving version of Brian Robinson. James Conner is still in the league because he can still get the yards. He can still move. He can still catch the ball. He can still pound the rock. It was evident versus Green Bay, and I'm going to talk about Green Bay in a second, that they have no way of getting that 1 yard and firing off the ball if they're always in a pass set. The rookie Conley is not ready to take on the likes of Micah Parsons. And we saw that consistently, even with help. I might have to change my defensive player of the year from Aiden Hutchinson to Micah Parsons because I know Micah hasn't done much. He's got 2 sacks, 2 games. He's on a pitch count. But that defense was a monster before him. Now it's a Sasquatch. It's Bigfoot. That defense, I want you to understand, Brian Robinson is a load, about 240, something like that, 230, 240. Against those smaller guys, if you keep pounding him versus a fast pass rush, you have no choice but to put in bigger guys on the defensive line because he's going to get to the linebacker level every time. Austin Eckler out for the season with the Achilles. Career's probably done, older in age. If he makes a comeback, that's great. But he's done for the season for the Commanders and most likely with the Commanders. Not your power back, typical. He can do it, but he's not built and big enough to go in there and slam into folks like Derrick Henry, like Brian Robinson Jr. Bill, he's like Austin, built to be a receiving back that can get some yards. But if you put 6 and 7 on the line, he's not running them over. And Green Bay rushed 4 most times, and they were still getting through. The game was close up until the end, but you pound that big back all the time throughout the game, and you slow that pass rush down. You have them bring blitzers, because when Green Bay brought blitzers, that was a tongue twister. Some of Washington backs picked them up. Austin Eckler did. Some of them didn't. They would chip on the outside and release in the flats. There was pressure coming up the middle as well as the outside. I'm not saying Brian Robinson Jr. is the best pass protector, but that's a body that can take on another 245-pound pass rusher. Because Micah is not that huge. He's big, but he's not that big as a DN. And they moved him inside to nose tackle as well. So Washington has a lot to think about as it goes to the running back situation. And I think that's going to be a big problem throughout the year for them, unless they can find a guy that can step in and just be a bruiser. Be a bruiser. I don't know who's on the free agent wire right now, or the waiver wire, whatever it is that's on the street. Obviously, they didn't make it on all the other teams, but they're probably good enough to get that 1 yard 3 or 4 times a game. Might want to invest in that. Green Bay's defense, look, I'm going to tell you this. They shut down 2 of the most prolific offenses from last year. Granted, not everybody's the same, but Washington's team, pretty much the same. They added Debo. Big addition, but they still shut the team down. Detroit, same players, minus the center and a new offensive coordinator. And that's the big thing about I feel that hurt Detroit. That Detroit, they didn't do a good job in calling plays offensively. There weren't any major shifts. There weren't any wild or different formations to throw the defense off balance. But Detroit got shut down both running backs. Green Bay shut down both running backs, which allowed the secondary to do their jobs. Green Bay's defense is serious and for real. Jordan Love is starting to get that look like Brett Favre had, like Aaron Rodgers had. We're just going to go out here. We're going to do it. That defense, I know it's 2 games in, but look at the caliber of talent they faced in those 2 games and shut them down. Run game and pass game. Jaden Daniels, mobile quarterback. Jared Goff, pocket quarterback. Shut them both down through the air, on the ground. David Montgomery and Gibbs held to under 60, 70 yards total on the ground and in the air. Austin Eckler, Bill, and Nicholson, who came in late, really nothing. So all I can say is, do not sleep on Green Bay. I really have to think about changing my NFC North prediction from Detroit to Green Bay. unless Green Bay's defense gets banged up, they're going to be a problem all year long. All year long. Now, that leads me to my predictions that I did last week. Put some music on in here. I want this one. I don't know if I want Daydream. Let me see. Do I want this one? Nah. Do I want this one? Maybe. Let me see. Do I want this one? Yeah. I'm going to take this one. I'm going to take this one. Jared Butler. Y'all don't have a power running back to neutralize that pass rush. Should have kept B-Rob. May hurt you. That's what I was saying. That's what I was saying. Exactly what I was saying. Exactly what I was saying. It's going to hurt us all year. And, you know, it's unfortunate that that's not the type of running style or offensive scheme that's incorporated into what Cliff Kingsbury does. You gave up a great back because of money and scheme. This wasn't the money, man. But I get it. He's going to command a lot of money next year because of the style of back he is. The NFL is going back to the bruising back and moving away from the scat back. I told you guys this maybe earlier this season, probably earlier in the summer, late last season. The hip drop, no, earlier last season when I said they got rid of the hip drop tackle. I said the NFL is going to go back to the big bruising back because you just can't pull them down anymore. You're going to have to take them on. And that's not going to be well for these smaller linebackers and smaller DBs and safeties. Not a good move. But it is what it is. Scrolling at the bottom, you see what I did last week. I was 11-5. Look, sometimes a player is wrong. TSA, I hope you like that. I said sometimes a player is wrong. Just happened to be that I was wrong 5 times last week. But this week I started off 1-0 when I called Green Bay to beat Washington. I love my Commanders, but I saw the writing on the wall after seeing what Green Bay did to Detroit. I was like, they shut down that run game. We don't have a David Montgomery. But it is what it is. So this week, let's get into it, okay? Let's get into it. Nothing to it but to do it, right? So last week, I had the Bengals, Jacksonville, Arizona, Pittsburgh, Washington, Denver, San Fran, the Rams, the Ravens, Philly, and the Chargers. I told you. I thought the Chargers were going to beat up on Kansas City. I thought it would be close, but I picked the Chargers. It was early in the week, so you probably didn't see it, but I did pick the Chargers. So this week, let's open it up. Got my brown book. Time to flip the page. It's time to pick some winners. Opening up the week, we've got Cleveland coming to Baltimore. Now, last year, Cleveland beat Baltimore early on in the season. It was like 29-24 or something like that. Last week, Cleveland gave Cincinnati everything they could run for their money. Defense was on point. Offense sputtered a bit. But the fact that you held Burrow and Chase and Higgins to 113 total passing/receiving yards and only gave up like 60 or 70 rushing yards, that's less than 200. Hell, that's less than 180 total offense. But here's the kicker. That young kid, Samson, he's a good player. His days are numbered because once their running back, Junkins, gets his feet under himself, I say about 2 weeks or so, they're going to be swapping in and out. But Joe Burrow will not be the quarterback. All summer long, I've said this game against Baltimore, Joe Flacco is going to get hurt and he's going to get put out the game. Prime example. We know that Cincinnati does not have a strong defense, nor a strong defensive line outside of their talented edge rusher. Right? What do you think Baltimore's going to do to him? What do you think? I don't know. I know my wife has not answered the door. 1 second, guys. My wife has not answered the door, and I'm doing a live show. So let me see if I can text her because I can't open the door from here. So give me a second. With that being said, all right. I got a ring system, so I look at everything, right? Protection. I look at everything. Anyway, that's taken care of. So we've got that defensive line and defense of Baltimore, which didn't look that great versus Buffalo, but Buffalo's a good team, right? They're coming after Joe Flacco. Tillman is the star receiver along with Fannin Jr. Fannin Jr. is a tight end that they line up in the backfield as well. He's a gadget tight end. Haven't we seen that in New Orleans? We have, right? But when you have to rely on your tight end, your second tight end, because Njoku only had like 5 targets, who's the, big target. But when you have a tight end that can line up in the backfield and run the ball and catch the ball out of the backfield and line up in line and block and go out for passes, that's a weapon. Right? But I think he's going to have to block more. I really think he's going to have to block more this game. I wouldn't start him. But again, think about it. Because tight ends are so slim. Kittle gone for at least 4 weeks. Top tight end, right? Then you got Laporta, Hawkinson, Loveland maybe. Zach Ertz, who didn't go early, but is the favorite target of Jaden Daniels. You got a couple decent ones, but not many. So if you're at that crosshair where you're like, ooh, should I play Fannin or not? I mean, at tight end, and you don't have like really, really solid options, sure. He was in what, 62% of the plays with Njoku, caught more passes than Jerry Jeudy and Tillman. And Tillman is the number 1 receiver. I said this last week, not Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy is inconsistent. He had an inconsistent game last week. If not for that Tillman pop up in the air interception, Cincinnati might not win that game. But they're playing Baltimore. And Grant Dilpit, the safety, said he can take down the King by himself easily. We're going to see about that. Heavy dose of the King. And look, I know Andrews isn't that top tight end anymore, but they got to get him involved. They got him. Zay Flowers and Lamar have a very good chemistry. Love that there. They're going to start getting Hopkins more involved too. 1 catch, 1-handed, 1 touchdown. Hopkins is going to eat if they double Flowers. Andrews should eat because they can't really cover the tight end. But if you cover all of them, that means it's going to be a light box for the king to run in. And Lamar's going to run too. I've got Baltimore winning this game. Very, very close game. 27, 25, 24, something like that. It's going to come down to a field goal. That's what I see. Let's go. Aforementioned Bengals. They're hosting Jacksonville. Now look, Jacksonville played Carolina, so we're going to pump our brakes on how good we think Jacksonville is, right? But Jacksonville's pretty good overall, from what I can tell. So good, they let Tank Bigsby get traded to Philly the day after the game. They believe a lot in the Virginia Tech running back rookie to be behind Travis Etienne, who also, by making that move, tells me they're going to re-sign Travis because this is his option year, you know? So we'll see. But my question is, can Cincinnati slow down Jacksonville's offense? I really had Cincinnati winning this game early in the week, and then I thought about it. Yes, I think Chase is going to have a good game. I can't wait to see if Travis Hunter gets to cover him. Or T. Higgins. Can't wait for that. But I think Jacksonville has more weapons. I know this is crazy, but I think they have more weapons on the offensive side of the ball to make things happen than Cincinnati. Also think that the defense of Jacksonville is a better defense than Cincinnati. They protect Trevor Lawrence a lot better than Cincinnati protects Joe Burrow. That doesn't mean Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase aren't going to connect and right the wrong of what Cleveland did. I just don't think Cincinnati is that cohesive of a unit that they'll be able to match all the things that Jacksonville's going to be able to do. I don't. I think Travis Etienne is going to be able to run, which opens up things for Brian Thomas Jr. I think it's going to open things up when they put Travis Hunter on the offensive side of the ball. Strange. He didn't have a big game, the tight end, but he did provide some relief as a check down. Put the ball where it needs to be. You don't have to play hero ball. A lot of folks drafted Cincinnati's running back, Chris Brown, high this year, off the expectation that he's going to do great things. This might be a game where he'll do a little more, but I don't think he's going to be worth the draft capital that you gave up to get him if you got him in the first 2 to 3 rounds. I don't think so. That's just me. If you're looking to get a player because you drafted Chris Brown and he's going to have a big game this week, I don't think it's going to happen. I think Jacksonville actually comes out and outperforms Cincinnati in Cincinnati. I'm picking Jacksonville. Yes, I'm picking Jacksonville over Cincinnati. Easy game to pick right here. Easy game to pick right here. Look, all you New York Giants fans, y'all need to start Cam Scatterboom. That dude brings so much energy. He's going to have a short NFL career, and he's probably going to have like a lot of stuff in his neck because of his running style. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. But if you get him in the game and you run that rock with him 15 times, just give him the ball 15 times. Passing game, running game, total of 20 times. That slows down pass rushes. That slows down things coming in Russ's face. That gives Malik Neighbors one-on-one opportunities. Because if you don't do that, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't care if you put Jackson Dart. I don't know if you put the Dart champion behind the offensive line. Russ, Jameis, Dart, it does not matter. That offensive line is trash. The New York Giants offensive line is dumpster garbage juice. But if they do some power runs with Cam Scatterbo, counter runs, pull a guard or something, right? Go old school, because Cam Scatterbo is an old school running back with hands of the new school. He is the difference, in my opinion, in what is coming to the NFL. That kid is a mini tank that catches the ball. I'm telling you, against Dallas, who's going to throw the ball all over the place on him, all over the place. I think CD's going to have a $150. Pickens is probably going to have maybe 100. That's what, 250 yards between the two of them. And Javonte Williams, another player that probably didn't get drafted, is probably going to score maybe 1 or 2 touchdowns. I'm going to give him 1. Okay? They're in Dallas. Look, it doesn't matter to me what happens to the Dallas Cowboys or the New York Giants, except one of them's going to lose. Hopefully there's not a tie. But neither one of them have a win. So Washington's still ahead of them. All I care about. But I think Dallas explodes all over New York. Unless Cam Scatterbo is that number one back and they feed him. Because Dallas can't stop the run. Dallas cannot stop the run. At least not yet. My opinion. So I look for Dallas to go out and make this a high-scoring game and pass the ball around and make the Giants have to play catch-up, which they can't. Not with the weapons that Russell Wilson has and the way the weapons are deployed. Very honest. And if Dayball puts in Jackson Dart and lets him run some speed option stuff, you're gonna get that dude killed. You're gonna get that dude killed. For some gadget plays, no, don't do it. Don't do it. Unless he's throwing the ball, don't put Dart in there, man. He's got that cannon. And he's a risk taker. But I think he'll develop fine. But I got Dallas winning the game. Now, to the next game. Chi-Town goes to Detroit. I'm going to tell y'all, Caleb Williams is going to be fine if he listens. Ekote. Chicago should have won that game versus Minnesota. They were dominant up until middle third quarter. Then it all fell apart. Caleb did make some mistakes, which led to the defense being on the field longer than it needed to. But opening up the third quarter, you can't put that on Caleb. What, a 12, 13 play drive? That was the defense. not Caleb. They let Minnesota march down the field and score and beat them up for the second half. Now, were there mistakes made? Yes. Can they correct them this week? Yes. But I bet you my bottom dollar or your bottom dollar that Detroit feels the same way. They had too many mistakes versus Green Bay, and they're going to correct them. But the difference, I think, is this. I think Detroit is going to put the pressure on Caleb so he continually makes mistakes. It's going to cost him. It's going to cost him. I think Sonic and Knuckles are going to do everything in this game. Amara St. Brown, I'm looking for him to have a big game. I really am. There were holes in that Chicago Bear defense in the second half, and I'm like, what the world? And even in the first half, when McCarthy was missing open players. I don't think Jared Goff is going to make the same mistake. I got Detroit. I've got Detroit. You play your usual suspects. Sam Laporta ate last week. He'll eat this week. I think all of Detroit players eat this week. I'm heavy on Detroit for same game parlays, DraftKings and FanDuel, leagues and all other stuff. I'm heavy on them this week. Might be time to sell the Dunzier now. DJ Moore now. So I don't think it's going to get no better for Chicago. I thought they'd be improved, but we'll see after this game. Speaking of disappointments, let's talk about it. Has the Miami Dolphins players given up on Mike McDaniels? They played so uninspired, so lackluster. Last week, they got whooped by Indianapolis? And Danny Dimes? Maybe Daniel Jones needed that change of scenery in a different organization and all that. We'll see this week, and we'll see the following week. But we're talking about Miami Dolphins, who, 20-0 by halftime? They're taking on the Patriots this week. And last week, I was wrong. I thought the Patriots secondary had improved. Gonzalez didn't play. Still, not an excuse to let Geno throw for 400 and some change? No. They held Genty in check, though. They stopped the run. I'll tell you that. Offense sputtered. But you get the Miami Dolphins, a division opponent who looks like they've quit on their coach. Darren Waller out again. It was expected because, hey, you're probably going to give him like 3-4 weeks. He'll probably be back next week, right? Or at least by week 4. If not, they should have put him on IR for 4 weeks. Some people they bypassed Tyreek Hill for 5 rounds, 6 rounds? Even though he's still the cheetah, didn't do much, right? Tua threw 2-3 interceptions. I'm not saying he's going to do that this week, but I will say I expect a better defensive backfield play of the New England Patriots this week. I expect the same Miami team to show up. I told you in the summer, I think they're going to fire Mike McDaniel probably just before the bye or by the bye. And it's a shame because the kid knows how to coach offense and he knows how to do things, but it's not working with this team anymore. It's not. I got New England yet again. I think this is a 100-yard game for Stephon Diggs. I think you're going to see a lot of rushing touchdowns, maybe 2 or 3 between the two teams. They're going to try to make statements. But at the end of the day, I got New England going down to South Florida and taking the victory. Woo! Y'all going to be like, I see what you're saying, but I don't agree on this next one. Look. New Orleans is hosting a very, very banged up San Francisco 49er team. New Orleans defense surprised me last week. They lost the game. They surprised me. And the fact that Alvin Kamara was not an integral part of the offense needs to change. You have a backup quarterback who's now become a journeyman, who was reportedly supposed to be drafted by San Francisco in the beginning, but they got Brock Purdy instead. Right? Mr. Irrelevant versus their first, or supposed to be their first overall pick. They got Trey, didn't work out. So now he's at the helm of a team that does not have George Kittle, does not have Brandon Ayuk. Their starting quarterback, who he's stepping in for, is out. Maybe 2 weeks, something like that, 2-3 weeks. You have Ricky Pearsall, Jawan Jennings, Christian McCaffrey, and they're probably going to have to include Brian Robinson Jr. in this. I have no faith in the 49ers. And I told you guys this during the summer. I said the 49ers are probably going to finish last in that division this year. People that I said this to in real life, person to person, they were like, you crazy. I'm like, no. They are depleted, and now they're hurt and depleted. This is not a game I had New Orleans Saints winning at all, until this week. Do not expect Chris Olave. Do not expect Shaheed. Do not expect, well, you might expect Alvin Kamara to be more involved because he wasn't last week and he needs to be. But Spencer Rattler is just not going to throw up 300 yards in this defense. It's not going to happen. But that defense of New Orleans is probably going to keep San Fran's banged up mass unit in check. Look, I'm telling you what I feel. This is something that I really, really see that happening by breaking it down the way you do as an analyst. Offensive lines nicked up versus a fresh, decent defensive line, right? Running backs messed up. You do have Christian McCaffrey. You do have Brian Robinson Jr. You got some dogs at the linebacker level. The secondary of New Orleans is, in my opinion, the weak spot. But you don't have legit go-getter receivers. Ricky Pearsall, second year, yes, he's a great target. Jennings, great target. But nobody else outside of CMC to get the ball to. CMC had, 9 catches last week? About 12, 13 rushes? Touched the ball like 25, 30 times, something like that. I don't know. That's why he keeps getting beat up. They use him so much. I got the Saints. I wouldn't have had the Saints all year long until I saw this happening. Until I saw this happen. So, with that being said, let's move on to the next game. Buffalo at the Jets. I told you guys the Jets are going to be decent. I had them at 9-7. Pittsburgh secondary looked like garbage, right? They couldn't stop the run either. I was surprised at how they performed versus Justin Fields. And Justin Fields looked like a legit dual threat quarterback. He did. But I told you the Jets are not to be slept on this year and have a legit shot at 9-7. And they almost beat Aaron Rodgers, who threw for 4 touchdowns, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Almost. But almost only counts in horseshoes, right? Buffalo made a heroic comeback versus Baltimore. I mean, no one saw that coming except Buffalo. They had to make a comeback. Do not crucify me when I say this, but I think the Jets' defense is just as good as Baltimore's defense. I told you guys stay away again from Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson had a perfectly thrown ball from Justin Fields for a touchdown. Didn't do very much outside of that, but Buffalo can be had if the ball is put in the right place. They can be had if the ball is put in the right place. Lamar and Flowers, along with the King, showed you run that rock, and Breece Hall had a lot of touches last week. Breece Hall, also slept on, can do similar things like Derrick Henry. With that being said, I'm still picking Buffalo to win this game because Buffalo, I don't know why they got this aura around them, right? I'm in a group and we're talking about how Lamar and Josh Allen are both going to make it to the Super Bowl, or are they at some point in their careers? And they're like top 3, 4 in the league. I said, no. They're behind Joe Burrow. Even though both of those guys are MVPs, Joe Burrow took his team to the Super Bowl in year 2, and he beat Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs to do it. They didn't win the Super Bowl, but he took his team to the Super Bowl. When he had a decent offensive line. Couldn't stop Aaron Donald, but indicative of what Cincinnati is. Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills need to run roughshod over the AFC East. They need to. So they can make their pathway easier to the AFC Championship game. Some people say it's going to be Baltimore and Buffalo, the AFC Championship game. I think if the Steelers' defense steps up and matches what the offense does, one of those teams is going to face the Steelers in the AFC Championship game. Just my opinion. But for this game, I got Buffalo. Next game on the docket, Seattle takes on Pittsburgh. You see how I'm stringing these things together? I mean, I'm telling you guys, it's something a little different. Something's in the air. Love is in the air. Okay. Seattle goes to Pittsburgh. If not for a spectacular catch, Seattle would be 1-0 instead of 0-1. The problem is Seattle does not have the best offense right now. Seattle's taking on Pittsburgh. Cooper Kupp, a PPR machine, has 3 targets? 5 targets? Catches 2 balls? Or none? Smith and Jigba, similar stat line. I told you guys, do not buy that Sam Darnold smoke and mirrors thing. It was the system and the coach that got him what he had last year, and the defense. Is Charbonnet going to supplant Walker at some point? Yes, I think so. Kenneth Walker Jr. needs to step up. He needs to be a healthy pounding back to set up the play action pass for Sam Darnold. They didn't have a lot of that versus San Fran. And I don't think he's going to have a lot of time versus Pittsburgh. I really don't. Pittsburgh tried to run the ball versus the Jets. And like I said, I think the Jets have a similar defense as Baltimore. I think Chris Warren and Kenneth Gainwell will have a better running experience versus Seattle. Even though Seattle has a very good defense, I don't think this is going to be one of those types of games where they're going to be worried so much about the run, because guess who's back in town? DK Metcalf. And we know how petty Aaron Rodgers can be. So they're probably going to try to double DK, but they don't have the speed to cover DK. They can put two people on top of him. Austin is going to catch some balls. Second and third, fourth string tight ends will catch some balls. The running game's there. If they're going to the West Coast, maybe. It's an East Coast game at home in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh wins this game, and I told you, it's not that I don't believe in Seattle. It's that I don't believe in Sam Darnold outside of that system he was just in last year up in Minnesota. You got to feed the ball to a PPR machine, a guy that's going to catch the ball in Cooper Kupp. If you're going to throw it. But you also need, in my opinion, for Sam Darnold, a strong play action game, which means Kenneth Walker Jr. or Zach Charbonnet needs to run the rock hard and often. Pittsburgh couldn't stop it last week. Let's see if they do it this week. I think they do. That's why I got Pittsburgh. Moving on. The Cooper Kupp reference goes to the Rams. The Rams take on Tennessee. Now look, I'm not going to eat crow. What I'm going to say is this. Cam Ward is not as bad as I've said on the field. It's his personality and all that other stuff I don't like. His demeanor was not good when his receivers was dropping balls. I told you guys. Lockett, he's okay. But them zip balls, he ain't catching them zip balls. Because that's all Cam Ward. He does not throw with touch. Ridley, same deal. He can catch them. But at the same time, you don't need to zip the ball all the time. A lot of drops. If you saw highlights of that game, you saw his dad in the stands acting the way that Cam does. Apple don't fall far from the tree, right? But here's the thing. The Rams are coming in and they're going to want to make an example of Tennessee. They won the game last week versus Houston, but not the way they wanted to win the game. I think they want to use Puka and Adams, whereas you have to open up the middle for Higbee and the run game. That's what I think. And that plays into exactly what is a weakness of Tennessee, their nickel back coverage. They played tough. They played tough versus Tampa last week, I believe it was. But way too many drops. Way too many. And I see that continuing. That's a theme all season long in Tennessee in my book. Not because the people can't catch, but because the quarterback is a ball in places and times when he doesn't need to. Yes, it's hitting them where they're supposed to catch it. They're professionals. I get it. But putting touch on the ball in certain times is exactly what's needed. We can talk about what happened with Caleb Williams and DJ Moore during that cover 2 high safety look, where Caleb just missed DJ Moore. Instead of just putting it on the back of his head or on a line to him, he put some air under it. He read the coverage wrong. That would have been a case where, yeah, zipping is good. Caleb didn't read that. And here's where I'm saying Ward would have been better. If Ward was there, that would have been a zip, a 20-yard zip. But that would have been the right throw. Check downs and stuff, you don't need to fire the ball. When you're leading a receiver, I'm talking from a quarterback perspective because I've played it. I'm talking for offensive coordinator perspective because I call offensive plays. When you're leading a receiver, it's a delicate touch between zip and touch. You want to zip it so that the backer and or DB can't get to it, but you want to put enough touch on it so that when it gets there, it's not going to kill the receiver's hand so he can catch the ball, turn up the field, and go. Because that zip ball is going to run them directly out of bounds or into the sitting backer or cornerback. Y'all know I ain't picking Tennessee. I'm picking the Rams. I mean, look, man. I'm not trying to knock Cam Ward, but his dad showed you exactly what he does. And he's been doing it. I don't know how far his talent's going to take him with that type of attitude, right? It might get to the point where people are tired of it and they're not winning 2 years down the line. Third year, for sure. For sure. Even if they bring in new talent and they're still having the same problem, we'll see. Let's move on. Carolina to these Arizona Cardinals. Carolina looked decent last week. It just so happened Jacksonville played better. Arizona probably should have lost to New Orleans. Probably. But they didn't. I think Arizona is going to have a win here. Start off 2-0. Because Xavier Leggett is a good receiver. But he should not be your number one. He should not be. Because he's not that guy just yet. Chuba Hubbard doing what he was supposed to do, run that rock. And that's going to be the basis of the Carolina Panthers. Run, play action, run, play action. I think the secondary, Budda Baker, and the rest of those guys in Arizona, because I'll be at this game, I don't think they're going to get sucked up by the play action because their linebackers are pretty good, right? That secondary, play your man. That's it, just play your man. Arizona should win this game. They should. Marvin Harrison Jr. should have another big game. He had a big game last week. Trey McBride, of course. I got AZ over the Panthers. Now, fool's gold or better situation. The Colts host Denver. I told you guys last week, and I told you during my rankings, Denver has the best defense in the NFL right now. They almost proved me wrong last week. Kind of scared me. But I think they're going to make Danny Dimes look like the Danny Dimes of the Giants coming back to earth. I think Pittman, and I told you guys this, as long as Richardson is not the quarterback, Pittman's going to become one of the better receivers in the league because he has a quarterback that's going to get him the ball. Plain and simple. That also helps with Jonathan Taylor, but Jonathan Taylor had a quiet week. It's going to get even quieter versus Denver. I'm not singing the praises of Bo Nix. I'm not singing the praises of Sutton or none of that. J.K. Dobbins running the ball, guys. Play action. Colts shut down the chain. Speedy back, not your pounder, like J.K. Dobbins is going to be, and like Sean Payton's going to use him as. Play action is what it's going to be. Good game. Good game. I think it's going to be a snot-nosed, snot bubble game as well. But I got Denver, man. Let's move on. Big game. The line moved in this game quite a bit, right? Friendly Fire took out the speed demon of Worthy last week, opening game. Full speed running across the field, gets shoulder checked by his own man, Travis Kelce, dislocates his shoulder. That ain't good. Not sure how long he's out, but I believe he's going to be out. When you have players that you get the ball to, I'm talking about Hollywood right now, 10, 15 times, and they have less than 100 yards, he had 99. That's not a good thing, y'all. And he still dropped some passes. I'm telling you, Pat's going to go to Juju Schuster-Smith a lot more, especially with Worthy out. Philly has Carter back. I doubt if there's going to be a lot of running straight up the middle in this game with Pacheco. Philly kind of got exposed last week with CeeDee Lamb. But they don't have a CeeDee Lamb type receiver in Kansas City. They don't. So will Kansas City start off 0-2? I think so. I really think so. I think Philadelphia is going to use Saquon Barkley and the newly acquired Tank Bigsby, because I believe Will Shipley is a little nicked up and is questionable. But Tank Bigsby gives them another pounder and somebody that can catch the ball too. Just not the same talent level as Saquon, but just in the mold of Saquon. The offensive line, keeps doing what it does. You're going to see a repeat of the Super Bowl. Honestly, I think so. And Philly's only what, a 1-point favorite? I think it moved up because they ruled out Hollywood. But yeah, rarely do you see Kansas City as an underdog at home. But this one's well deserved because Philly is that good overall. And Mr. Carter, don't spit on anybody, please. I know if he spits in your direct, I got it. I saw Dak do that dirty, dastardly deed. But don't take the bait, dude. I'm not an Eagles fan, Commanders fan, but don't take the bait. Play the game, brother. Next game. I told you guys Michael Penix was going to shine, and he did it most of the game without Drake London. Kyle Pitts had, 6 catches? 70 yards? Penix had over, 300 yards passing? And our guy, Bijan Robinson, who a lot of people should have taken at number 1 instead of Jamar Chase, but it is what it is, showed why he's the number 1 pick. Tampa, formidable opponent, divisional opponent, so I expected something like that game, not the way it ended. Minnesota. If you start off slow versus this Atlanta Falcon team, there's going to be a comeback available to you in the second half because they still know how to put up points. They have a better quarterback. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the national championship game rematch from 2 years ago. Michigan's quarterback versus University of Washington's quarterback. McCarthy versus Penix. This time, Penix has all the weapons on the offense. Yes, Minnesota has some offensive weapons. And Jordan Mason just might take the starting job from Aaron Jones if he keeps running the rock like that. But McCarthy can't be going off script or not being effective in the first half. Can't do that. Not against this team. They're pretty good offensively. I got the ATL Atlanta winning this game. All right. Next game up, because we got 2 games up, the Monday night games. 2 Monday night games. This has become a regular thing for the NFL, having 2 Monday night games at some point in the season, right? First one, Tampa Bay at Houston. I didn't think Tampa Bay was going to win last week, especially without having their star left tackle, right tackle playing. They almost lost, but they didn't. Houston did not look that good versus the Rams. They were okay. I think they get better this week. And Will Smith, not Will Smith, oh my God. Will Anderson Jr. is coming for Baker. Darryl Stingley Jr. is going to cover Mike Evans. Or should he cover Ibuka? Bigger question is, who's going to step up on the offensive side for Houston? I don't know. But I do think Houston overall has a better team. But maybe, just maybe, they sneak out this win. This is a punch in the dark for me, but I'm going to pick Houston. The reason why is because I think Houston is going to find a way to replicate what Atlanta did. as far as throwing the ball around, getting the running back involved more so than anybody else, utilizing the tight end position to open up things for the wide receivers. CJ Stroud is not a bad quarterback. I told you guys, his weapons are not there. But if you get Nick Chubb in there and start smacking him around, just running ball with Nick Chubb, you'll open some things up. We'll see. Last game of the weekend, the LA Chargers take on the Las Vegas Raiders. Look, man, I definitely did not expect the Raiders to do what they did in New England, right? But I don't see him doing it again. Not against the Chargers. Divisional opponent. The way the Chargers look, beating up on KC. They let Justin Herbert throw the ball. Think about this. Herbert, coming in the league, and up until Harbaugh was there, one of the most prolific passers in the NFL. So they draft Amari Hampton. They say Najee Harris is playing. You think pound, 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 pound. No, they didn't take KC to Pound Town. They threw the ball around. But they are going to take the Raiders to Pound Town with Hampton and Harris. But I still see them because Quentin Johnson didn't drop the balls. He actually caught him. Keenan Allen being back is a big difference, guys. Ladd McConkey, Keenan Allen, and Quentin Johnson, that's a decent trio. Plus that run game. I'm going to tell you right now, look out for them Chargers. I had Denver winning the division. Chargers coming in second or third. They might come in second. They actually might win the division. But they're definitely going to beat the Raiders. Definitely. I don't have much to add to that other than they're going to beat the Raiders. All right. So that completes my week 2 picks. Let me go over them one more time. I have the Ravens winning. I have Jacksonville, Dallas, Detroit, New England, New Orleans, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Rams, Arizona, Denver, Philly, Atlanta, Houston, the Chargers, and I already had the Commanders losing to Green Bay. All right. Now it's time for the haters. All them haters on TikTok, on Instagram. I'm telling you, I am here for you. Bud Crawford is going to beat Canelo Alvarez. Let me repeat. Bud Crawford out of Nebraska is going to beat Canelo Alvarez out of Mexico. How? I believe by split decision. I truly believe that boxing is a little corrupt, always has been, and one judge, no matter what Bud does, is going to score the fight for Canelo. But I believe the other 2 judges are going to score the fight for Bud. Bud is going to figure out how to frustrate Canelo and how to get his points in and outpoint Canelo. All of Canelo's fans and supporters say Bud doesn't have the power to hurt Canelo, but Canelo has the power to hurt Bud. I told you guys, Bud walks around near that weight class anyway. So just imagine him carrying that weight with his knockout power already and catching Canelo. Because he's going to have to catch him. He's going to have to catch him. He's going to have to stumble him at least. Will he put him on the mat? I don't know. But I think he can hurt Canelo. Let's break it down. Canelo is not that big of a technical fighter. He's a boxer that fights. Over the years, yes, he's refined his skill. But Bud has always had a better skill level that's been refined. Yes, he's older. Some people say he has a shoulder issue. Okay, maybe he does. I don't know. But his technique is that of a chess player. Figure out what the opponent's doing and then maneuver him where you want him to be so you can do checkmate. People thought he was too small to fight Earl Spence. Do you see what he did to Earl Spence? Do we need to see the pictures of how Earl Spence looked like Martin when Martin fought Tommy Hearns on the Martin show? That's what he did to somebody that was supposed to be heavier in weight, a stronger puncher, and a better boxer. Canelo is a dog. This is the fight boxing needs, quite honestly. The fact that it's not as hype as some of the other things going on shows you the state of boxing. It's on Netflix. Not a bad place to have it. I thought it was in Texas. I stand corrected. It's in Allegiant Stadium, right? Vegas. Either way, Bud is at a disadvantage because if it was in Allegiant Stadium in Dallas, Texas, the fans, and I know the judges would have been on Canelo. Vegas has so much money, they want people to bet on Bud because they believe Canelo's going to win. Why? Maybe because that's how boxing is. Not making one excuse whatsoever if Bud loses this fight. Jared Butler, the guy that posted earlier, he said in the chat group I'm in, Bud has to knock him out to win. That's the only way he's going to win. That's, to me, that's inferring he's not going to get a fair judging cycle. And I can agree with that. He's going to have to beat Canelo like he stole something in order to get the decisive victory that nobody can take away from him. He's just going to have to beat him down and or knock him out. I think he can do both. I really do. Someone said, when was the last time on TikTok? Someone asked, when was the last time Canelo was frustrated? And I replied, when he fought Mayweather. And I get it, that was some time ago and he was younger. But Mayweather fights very similar to what Bud fights. Very similar. So if that happens here and Canelo hasn't learned his lesson, it's going to be a Bud Crawford win. Now, all of you Canelo fans on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, wherever, once you see this, you're going to be like, see, look at him. He's saying he's making excuses. And look, he lost. Dude, if Bud loses, he's going out on his shield. And I'm telling you, Bud Crawford is the better fighter / boxer. He's a technician. He's not Mike Tyson. He's not Sugar Ray Leonard, although Sugar was a technician, but he was also a showman. He's not Tommy Hearns. He's not Marvin Hagler for my old heads. But he can fight like them. I don't know if Canelo has that same type of fight in him. We'll see. Will this be like Sugar Ray and Roberto Duran? Some people are phrasing it like that. I'm like, nah, but it could be for this generation. Right? Could be for this generation. Duran gets frustrated in the second fight, because the first fight, I think Duran took it to Sugar, and I'm not sure if Sugar lost or if he won, but the second fight, Sugar, so he frustrated him so bad, Roberto Duran quit. No mas, no more. I don't think Canelo or his corner is going to quit. But I do think he's going to get frustrated. And yes, I'm picking Bud Crawford again to win this fight. We'll see. We'll see how right I am or how wrong I am. And I can't wait. I'm going to take screenshots. Matter of fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my Instagram and I'm going to show you guys some of the things that people say. Should do that right now, but no. Because I've made this same claim over and over again leading up to this fight. I want you guys to see the responses, win or lose, for Bud Crawford on these posts that I make about the fight. We'll see. Anyway, next week, we're going to talk about week 3. And we're going to talk about what happened in week 2. Any particular NFL news or any news that's going on around the world, we'll talk about it. And yes, I will talk about Bud and Canelo. I want to thank y'all for joining me. All I can say is I appreciate you all. I truly, truly do. Until next week, I'll see you when I see you.
Fantasy, sports, and politics. Get ready to rumble! You wanna talk smack? You in the right place. So take a step back before I get all up in your
Remember, because I don't remember. I remember every bit of this.
You're the dudes holding on the phone line. Your voice will be heard, sir.
Next caller, please.
Derek's gonna get him.
Fantasy, sports, and politics. Fantasy, sports, and politics. Fantasy, sports, and politics. Fantasy, sports, and politics.
Listeners are asking questions about this week's games, not Jerry's personal beef. So what's your thought?